What other rookies can do this?
Cade with the dribble. Sets up Saddiq for the corner three, and it's through.
And that play right there is what makes Cade Cunningham so special. Because not only does he have the ability to make a good defender like Ayo Dosunmu look foolish, but he can then make a pinpoint pass in a crowd of 3 defenders following that crossover. But it's much more than just the highlight plays for Cade Cunningham. This is a rookie that has completely transformed the Detroit Pistons over the last month and has proven to be the best player, leader, and floor general on the team, and that's on a team that is quietly playing some pretty good basketball at the moment as well. Since the All-Star break, these are the numbers Cade is putting up, and just to put these numbers into perspective, there are only 5 other players in the league averaging at least 20, 6, and 6. Those players being DeJounte Murray, James Harden, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Kevin Durant. That's 5 All-Stars and 3 MVPs. Pretty good company for a rookie, I would say. Not to mention, the Pistons have won some games in that time, and Cade has a positive plus-minus as well, all pointing to these numbers being anything but empty stats, like some people might be suggesting, but they're anything but, because he is putting up numbers on a team that is performing well, and numbers that are comparable to some elite players. But before we talk about Cade, there are also a couple of other players on this roster that deserve some attention. And one of those players was just traded to Detroit for Josh Jackson and Trey Lyles, a former number 2 overall pick who has just turned 23. Yeah, I'm talking about Marvin Bagley, who has been fantastic. Honestly, I think you can credit a lot of Cade's recent improvement in form to Marvin Bagley, because they've got in someone who is a lob threat. They've got in someone who can run the pick and roll. And all of a sudden, I'll talk about Cade in a bit, but no wonder his playmaking has gone up and his assists have improved, because Bagley is someone that can hit you with an array of hook shots and soft floaters and finishes around the rim. He's very skilled. We've seen that in Sacramento, we saw it at Duke, and we're seeing that in Detroit. He has the skill set, and then athleticism-wise, well, he's proven to be a lob threat for the likes of Killian Hayes and Cade Cunningham that desperately needed someone that could just catch lobs, to be simple, and he's done that really well. You can also feed him the ball in the post against mismatches and know he's going to get a high percentage shot, something Pistons fans haven't really been able to say about many bigs over the last several seasons. Marvin Bagley, to get him for next to nothing, it's just been an absolute fleece. Someone who's just turned 23, if that 3-point shot can start to fall, and I know that's a big if, because he's only had one real decent 3-point shooting season, but if that shot can fall, along with everything else he does, he's been pretty engaged defensively. This is someone who's going to average 15 to 20 points a game, and is a major piece for the Pistons' future that they got for next to nothing. Troy Weaver, you've done it again. And while we're on the topic of Troy Weaver, you've done it again, Isaiah Livers as well. Not going to dedicate a whole segment to Isaiah Livers, but he's been great. He has been fantastic, a steal, along with Saddiq Bey, who I'm about to talk about, Isaiah Livers, Marvin Bagley. This is a reason why Cade Cunningham's numbers have improved, and we'll touch on that. But before then, let's talk about Saddiq Bey. This is the guy who has looked like a potential 2nd star alongside Cade, or maybe a 3rd star with a looming top draft pick. And looking at the numbers, a lot of people think Saddiq might have taken a little bit of a step back. But when you dive a little bit deeper, after what was a very slow start to the season, Dwayne Casey was being asked about whether he could go to the G League. That's how bad it was for Saddiq Bey. Since then, over the last 45 games, the last few games he has been cold, so this is a bad time to talk about him, but over the last 45 games, he's been one of the best second-year players in the NBA. Scoring-wise, he has improved in a lot of aspects. We know what his shooting is. We saw that as a rookie, and we're seeing that now again. He is someone who can shoot off the dribble. He's smart at relocating. His size allows him to shoot over smaller defenders. He's added the little sidestep threes and a few threes off the dribble, like I mentioned. So he does that well, and I think he's going to be a good 3-point shooter for years to come. But the main improvement for Saddiq has been his ability to take advantage of that 3-point threat and then take players off the dribble. Because surprisingly for someone with his size and the shooting ability he has, his touch around the rim his first year and a bit in the NBA was bad. Very pretty bad. Recently, however, he is shooting around 60% at the rim over the last 45 games, which is up from the abysmal 50% he was shooting earlier in the season. And I don't know if there's one thing I can attribute it to in particular. You've got the playmaking of Cade, which is helping. Jeremy Grant being out definitely freed up the floor a bit for Saddiq during that period of time. Kelly Olynyk spacing the floor at times. There are a few factors, but I think more than anything, he just looks more comfortable finishing at the rim. I know that's kind of simple, but it seems like he's adjusted to the size and athleticism of NBA bigs and NBA forwards around the rim, and now he's starting to realize, oh yeah, I can finish through contact. And speaking of finishing through contact, he's starting to get to the free throw line more as well, which is crucial if you're going to be someone that wants to average 20 points a game on pretty good efficiency, and if you want to be a second or third option, like I'm sure he's aiming to be, you need to be able to get to the free throw line. He's shown an ability to do that. He's also shown an ability to playmake, whether that's secondary playmaking or putting the ball on the floor, collapsing the defense and kicking it out to an open shooter. Those are the kind of things he's done way more consistently. Also, he's done this without turning the ball over more. Really, everything about Saddiq Bey's game this season has improved, if you exclude that little start to the season. And I think you can see for a lot of Pistons players, they all collectively started the season so bad. But the last 45 games or so for Cade Cunningham, Saddiq Bey, and numerous other guys have been so much better. And let's just talk about Cade Cunningham. When talking about Cade, it's hard to pinpoint one particular area of his game that makes him so special. But I think that in itself is what is so special about Cade, because he really has it all. If we're talking about him from a scoring perspective, I mentioned his recent numbers, and in general, he's been a pretty effective scorer from all three levels. He's capable of creating space, whether that be off a step back from beyond the arc or in the mid-range area. He's fantastic at getting the defender on his back in the pick and roll and just dissecting the defense by using his length and size to either finish at the rim or dump it off to the rolling big. And don't get me started on his touch on floaters, hook shots, left-handed layups, right-handed bank shots. It's ridiculous. If there's one thing about Cade's scoring, it is the touch with either hand that you just know as he gets stronger and as he continues to get more adjusted to NBA bodies and NBA physicality, he's going to be one of the best and most consistent finishers at the rim at any position. And that is going to get him to the free throw line. That is going to get him easy buckets. Not to mention he has a mid-range game. He has a three-point game. He's got it all as a scorer. He's got it all. Although his numbers aren't amazing, his efficiency still isn't quite there. Just looking at his stats, you can see that he's pretty okay at everything. And I think that's going to round out to him being pretty good at everything and really good at finishing around the rim, in my opinion. I mean, if I were to just highlight one move, you could highlight a number of moves, but just one move. Look at this move on Bogdan Bogdanovic. He gets the switch, he then hits him with a crossover and spin move before banking it off the glass with a hook shot. It's just one move, but the swiftness and the easiness at which he got onto a slightly smaller defender and took advantage within an instant, that is what I expect more often, and that's what we're already starting to see more frequently. But clearly the biggest improvement for Cade has been his playmaking. Earlier in the season, Cade was pretty much averaging 1 assist to 1 turnover or thereabouts, and there were some people saying, oh, Cade, he's just not a great playmaker. He showed this in Oklahoma State. He's an overrated playmaker. He's not what you're hyping him up to be. Well, now all of a sudden you see that Marvin Bagley is on the team, Isaiah Livers, Saddiq Bey are all playing better, and now all of a sudden his assist numbers have jumped from about 4 to 4.5 to about 7 recently, and he's done all of this without turning the ball over at a higher rate. Who would have thought putting him with better teammates and his team not sucking, and he would actually be a pretty good playmaker, which we're seeing. He's developed a really nice partnership with Marvin Bagley. As I mentioned, in the pick and roll, he can get the defender on his back and then just take advantage of either situation, whether that be finishing or dropping it off to Bagley. He's got the pick and pop with Kelly Olynyk. He's got the in-transition lobs to Marvin Bagley. He can collapse the defense and kick it out to open shooters like Saddiq, like Isaiah Livers, like Jeremy Grant. He can do pretty much everything as a playmaker, and that's something where you're seeing him put up these 23, 9, and 10 games, or these triple doubles, or these games where he's putting up 10 to 12 assists, because he is a playmaker, and those first few games in the season didn't quite reflect that. I think at the end of the day, when looking at Cade's Rookie of the Year case, or when you're looking at his numbers, a lot of the people look at his efficiency and see his base stats and think, oh, he's just really got a big role on a bad team. But you can't really put into words how bad this team was early in the season. And now that there's some competent pieces around him, all of a sudden the Pistons are not just winning, but he's putting up more efficient and better numbers from pretty much every aspect, whether that means playmaking or scoring. And all of a sudden, he's looking like the best rookie in the league. That's all I've got to say. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, bye.